So we did have unfortunately, our guest today wasn't able to make it on. I did attempt in our group, Facebook group, to see if anyone did want to hop on as our guest, but I know it's always hard as a last minute, right? And some of us don't know. We definitely have some new visitors in here, so they don't even know what to expect from live dials, and a lot of new people to Agent Locator. So this, I guess, will be for some in here, I guess, a first time experience. So I guess we're going to start with discussion, unless anyone does want to volunteer. If you are familiar with Beverly and what she does on these calls, you can raise your hand. We can definitely bring you on as a panelist on here, or you can sit back and kind of discuss things and so on, and wait to see if maybe someone decides that they get brave enough and do that, or ask questions. We use these sessions sometimes when we don't have a guest, for you guys to ask questions to Beverly, when it comes to calling your leads, how to encounter certain situations, whether it's a situation with the lead, and what they're encountering, and how to handle that, or what you should be offering, handling the objections that we all come across. And then, and I think in this case, and kind of what we're experiencing right now, is the lack of motivation as well from our leads, just on various factors. I'm not sure what it's in your area, but like the crippling interest rates for many that are, putting a halt to a lot of these buyers' actual motivation to move forward. And a lot of individuals are struggling with that because people just aren't buying as fast as they were, last year or the year before, right?
For sure.
So Beverly, Brian is asking a question here. He has a lead.
People to come on live.
Yeah.
You bring them on.
Come on. You want to? We'll let you speak, Brian. Okay. So you don't have to turn your camera on if you don't want to, but you can actually speak. And
oh, come on, I'm a camera person. Let's go.
I don't even think I can give you that ability to turn your camera on, so we can only hear your lovely voice.
Why?
Because you're a guest. Oh, I can promote you here. If I promote you to panelist.
Oh, Brian, you're promoted.
There we go. He's gonna rejoin as a panelist, and then he can turn his camera on.
All right, so we need some people, some others to raise their hand if they want promoted.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for a promotion. I'm not worthy of it right now.
How many leads do you have in your system, Brian?
I just started with KV Core, so I imported a dead CRM of 900 leads. Okay. But I got this fresh lead. My Google ads just started this week, and I got a notification this morning. I did my 1-hour training yesterday with Maida, and I got this lead. I got a notification. He's looked at a listing 3 times. Okay. And you got to understand, I was downloaded with so much information for the last week and a half listening to you and to the CRM training that my head's a bit of a whirlwind. But I would really love, because I really appreciate the way you do objection handling and the way you talk to people. So I wanted to refresh myself without having to dig through and try and find it, because you're here. Yep. A guy's looked at a listing 3 times. What is your lead out? What is the best approach?
I don't look at my specific leads for anything other than I've never spoke to you. My job is to find out where you are in the process. I don't care if they've looked at 1 home or 1 million homes or 10 homes. None of that matters to me, because we have no idea where they are in the process. And the biggest objective and the goal is find out where they are in the process.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, they don't care who you are. They don't care what website they're in. They don't care about anything else other than, why the hell are you calling me? Because I don't know your number is showing up on my phone. Right. So that lead in, hey, I saw that you were looking at homes online in da da da. Because you immediately combat any objection, because you're identifying with their question when they're looking at their phone. Who is this person? Who is this calling me? Right? Because that's all they're thinking when they pick up the phone. So
let me clarify. Sorry, I need to, there's a missing piece that you don't know, and I just want to fill it in. So I called him and he answered his phone outside and said he couldn't hear me and asked me to call him back.
Okay.
Then he texted me and said he's just looking.
Perfect. Okay.
He said he's not interested. And then a day later, he's now looked at a listing 3 times.
So it just means he's not interested in talking about what he's looking for, right?
Right.
And that's where, again, identifying that objection out of the gate.
Yep.
Like, hey, Brian, I know that you're just looking and I'm just trying to get an idea of what are your future plans? I'm not trying to sell you anything, just want to get an idea of what your future plans are so that I know how to follow up with you in the future.
Okay.
What are you looking for? How can I make your job easier? And just because that objection, right? It's not really an objection. It's just, and again, I always bring up the example of whenever we walk into a retail store and that sales clerk says, is there anything I can help you with? You're like, oh God, just let me freaking shop. Like, I don't want to be sold to. And that's where their feeling is. But if that sales clerk furthers that conversation with, hey, what brings you in today? Are you shopping for personal, your job, or are you going out for a special occasion? You're like, oh, it's a special occasion. Oh, where are you going? Right? It's like you can keep that conversation going once you drop their defensiveness of don't sell to me.
Is it, and I'm asking because I want to make sure I program the right way. Is it accurate, or is it wise to say, after I'm having the conversation, I just want to know what your future plans are. Is there any way I can help? Hey, listen, by the way, what was it about that property that made you look at it 3 times?
Does it matter?
Well, if I want to shift into putting him on a drip campaign or put him on a search, a real estate search, because he hasn't downloaded my app yet. So if I want to help him make his searching easier, I would want to tell him I can do that. Like you said, right? How can I make your job easier? I noticed you like this. What is it that hallmarks it? Because I'd love to put you on a program where you can easily and effortlessly look at more.
Well,
that
and
kind
that's
of thing.
where, once you understand his future plans, that's going to kind of give you the urgency, right? It's going to be, well, I don't have to sell my house, but I'm thinking about retirement in the next couple of years. And then you can lead into that question. Well, if the perfect house would come on the market, would you be in a position to purchase for? Just listen to what he says about what his future plans are and go with what he's saying and say, great, well, what's the best thing that I could do right now to help you while you're in this information gathering mode? What would the perfect house be?
Love it.
And, I always do like to ask, I want to know, are you downsizing? Are you upsizing? What's the reason for the move? And kind of get them envisioning. And this is where it's kind of like planning the vacation. We can't make somebody move in a time frame that's not going to work for them. But what we can do is get them thinking and dreaming. So if we're asking them, what kind of lifestyle are you looking for in the future? That is going to help you kind of get an idea of how much land they want, what kind of location they want, what kind of area they want. Because really the most important things to someone that's looking to relocate or reposition or move, they're moving into a different lifestyle. And the lifestyle is what is the selling feature, right?
Right.
It's like a vacation.
Right.
But when we're looking at going on vacation, we're not necessarily excited about a vacation next year if we haven't planned a destination. But once we get that little seed of getting it down to 4 different areas, and then you start researching it, and then you get down to 2 areas, and then once you book the vacation, it's like all on.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing in that house moving process. It may be way planted deep, way down seated, but once they start talking about it, it becomes a little bit more of a reality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what can change those time frames. And that's where we need to find out, do they have a problem? Because when you look at the real estate market, the only thing that makes a sale is the seller or the buyer have an expectation. If there's something in the market that is going to meet that expectation, that's what makes the sale.
Right.
The only thing that stops the sale is there's nothing out there that meets their expectation.
Right.
Location and price. So if we can
Right.
find out what their expectations are,
Mm-hmm.
do we as real estate agents have the ability to match that?
Right.
And the only way we know is to find out what's in their heads without digging too, or what I would say, without pushing too much.
Right.
Because you're sold to every day. As soon as you flip on,
Yeah.
I mean, you wake up, right? You look at your phone, it's like every second Facebook news feed is a sponsored ad.
Yes, it is.
Right. And you just become numb to the sales and you're like, God, I'm so oversold. I just want to have a normal conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it.
He who's asking the questions is the one that controls the conversation. So it's
Right.
really being equipped with those questions of what is the most important information for you to be able to equip yourself with, to know what the situation is. And I always want to know, what are those future plans? What is the reason for the move? Do you have to sell your home? And the more the information we have, we can go, you know what? Let me just ask you a question. If you're not selling your home and we found you a really good, I don't want to say an investment property, but if we found you a really good base price on something, would you buy previous to retiring?
Yeah.
You know, and those are the questions that sometimes we forget to ask when we're in the conversation, because we're so focused on, okay, they're retiring 2 years, I'll follow up with you in a year and a half.
Yeah. I'm one of those, I've been doing this for 36 years. So I fall into the category of the guy who's been doing it for so long that he's not paying attention to the new lingo and the new way and how things have shifted, and to adjust the way we dialogue with people. So that's why I'm asking, right? Because we get lazy, we get super lazy, and we just take for granted. And we have, I just really love the approach. I love the new language and the new framework about how we need to dialogue with people today. And I like that a lot. Yeah.
Well, and customer service, I mean, just go out to eat, right? It's the customer service is so horrible these days. And that personal touch is the missing piece. And the unfortunate thing is, it doesn't take much to have a very high level of service anymore, because it's so poor. And people do want to be part of something. And when you're asking questions, it's helping them to feel welcomed in the conversation. They feel heard. And, you know, in today's day and age, everyone is just so selfish, right? That it feels good to them that you're asking the questions and you're opening them up and you're allowing them to talk, and you're holding that space for them to be able to talk about their dreams and their plans. And it feels good to them. And they remember how they felt speaking to you. And that's what makes the difference. Now,
that's what they always remember.
Yeah. And now this is why it's so important to take really good notes and be diligent with the follow-up, because the unfortunate thing is, they're not going to go back and research who you were when you had that conversation, because they're going to go with whoever's the most convenient at the time that they're ready to pull the trigger.
Right.
So we really do have to be diligent with positioning ourselves to get lucky to follow up with them right at that opportune time. Because as people are researching on the internet, when they get closer to pulling that trigger, they're increasing the amount of looking that they're doing online. And that's where we really have that opportunity of losing them. Because if they go and log into 3 more websites, we don't follow up when we're supposed to, they get linked into that first conversation they have a year later or 6 months.
Yeah.
is really important to continue to maintain that relationship throughout those days. And, it's learn about their kids, learn about their animals, learn about their hobbies, learn about anything you can that's going to make it personal for that follow-up. Because there's nothing more impressive than when somebody remembers something about somebody. I mean, just imagine if you bought a car from somebody 2 years ago and they called you up today and say, "Hey, Brian, you bought that from me a couple of years ago. I'm going to be moving dealerships and I'm going to be selling this kind of car. But man, I remember you bought that truck because you got this big ass dog," right? And you'd be like, "Oh my God." Because most people don't know that you got notes. People don't think about, "Oh, well, he got really good notes." Now, I think about that when people follow up with them. I'm like, "Oh, you took really good notes. I'm impressed." But most people don't think along those lines. So when they hear from somebody down the road and you remembered something that was important to them, it's like, wow, they cared enough to not only listen, but they cared enough to call back and say it again.
Unfortunately, most people don't think you're actually listening to begin with.
That is correct. Well, and even, right? Even how cool is it if this has ever happened to you, you get off of a phone conversation and you get a follow-up email or a follow-up text that says, "It was so great communicating," or "It's so great talking to you. It was so great to learn about your kid's gymnastic class," or whatever it is. It makes an impact. And I always say it's the little things that make that difference, that make you stand out. And especially in today's world of technology, that's part of your brand. To care, to follow through, to do what you say you're going to do. And not only is it part of your brand, it's very empowering. How does it feel whenever you check mark your list off, right? Like that, oh, I'm on fire. So it's the same way. If we put those important people on our calendar and we follow up and we follow through, it really does help us to become a better person, because then it's like, oh my God, wow, that feels good because we did something that we said we were going to do. And in the world of sales, it's so easy to overpromise. But we do follow through with those things that we say we're going to do, it's life-changing. And there was a quote that came up, and it's been one of my favorite quotes for a long time. "Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development." And I look at that follow-up and follow through as that personal development. Because we are those salespeople that are running 90 miles a minute, right? With our hair on fire. And as salespeople, it's easy to make those promises of, "Oh yeah, I will get you an email sent over with the list of properties, blah, 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 by tomorrow." Or I'll run some numbers and I'll get you an estimate over on your home evaluation. It's easy to say it in the moment, but then you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm running behind. I got to go to this closing and I got to go show this house. And oh my gosh, I got this going on." And then tomorrow comes, you're like, "Oh my God, I didn't send that email." So being very conscious of what we're saying to people and knowing and setting those boundaries to know what we say that we're able to follow through on. And then go that extra mile. When you send the email, shoot them a text, say, "Hey, I just want to make sure you got my email," because sometimes it goes into spam. The over communication. Because then not only over communicating, then they have multiple ways of getting back to you.
Yeah.
You want them to remember you. And if that continual communication isn't there, they don't have your number. And I always ask people, "Hey, make sure you save my number in your phone. And just save as my realtor. You don't even need my name, my realtor." And they laugh. So then when it pops up on their phone, it's like, "My realtor," right? It's that subliminal.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you how many people that I call back and they know who I am because they did save me in their phone.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Because it's so easy to save names in phones today.
Tell that to my daughters. That's awesome.
But yeah, don't get hung up on, if you've never spoken to the lead, don't get hung up on anything other than they were online looking at homes in a particular area, because that's all that matters. I saw that you were online looking at some homes, just wondering what your situation is and what your future plans are.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
I just before I called the guy, I just wanted to make sure, listen, all these many years of programming and I got to unprogram and reprogram, you get it, right? It's like, I just want to make sure that I start off with the same mentality. Like once my head gets in that space where it's different than where I usually am, it's effortless. It's good. It's good. I just wanted to make sure that I was going to go about it the right way. So I'll do my best.
Yep. Yeah. I wouldn't even bring up that he's looked at one particular property. And one thing that I have realized just testing a lot of different things, the cookies, right, of the computer, sometimes it'll tell you he's looked at it 3 times, but he just may have clicked within that frame of that particular property. And he may not have opened it up, closed it, opened it up, closed it, opened it up, closed it. So he may not have even realized that he looked at it 3 times.
Yeah, he would have had to in this case, but yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, because I've had that happen, right? Like in testing with training agents into a system, I'll pop a property in and then it says, it looks like you looked at it 5 times. I'm like, I only opened it once.
Right.
Right. So if they're clicking throughout there, it may open up another window. But it doesn't really mean that they've looked at it 3
times. I got you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm glad whoever was supposed to come quit. Because I was dying to talk to you, so that's good.
Awesome. Anytime.
Perfect. So we have some more questions. So Allie here is saying they're having challenges with the lead volume. Basically getting a lot less leads in the past couple months. My understanding is that that's happening since the market is slow overall, and that less users are borrowing. Do you have any thoughts on that? Are you finding that as normal where you are right now?
Well, I think we're dealing with a twofold right now, time of year too.
Yeah.
You know, time of year and market shift for sure.
Absolutely. But yeah, the borrowing is definitely hindering a lot of people. Sackett has reached, he's just commenting on the viewed 3 times and registered 3 actions. With AgentLocator, that used to be a thing. So when you previewed it, then registered and then kind of had to go back into it. So it made it look like people were looking at it 3 times when really they only looked at it twice. They don't do that anymore. That was corrected probably almost a year ago now, that was corrected. It was, a little misleading.
And that's why I don't even hold stock in that. And that's why, like, my filters are my filters. And when I'm doing my cost filter, I know these people I've never spoke to. I don't care how many homes they've looked at.
Yeah. If you've never spoke to them, if it comes up in conversation, they're motivated, that by all means you could leverage that, kind of how Brian is with, well, let's get you some listings. What was it about this one? Right. So we can narrow down the homes to be like that, but that's somebody that has that level of motivation that, again, are willing to share more information about their searches.
Well, and what I find too is a lot of people, it was funny whenever I was working one of my Nashville websites, there's a lot of movie stars that live in Nashville, and there's a lot of high-end homes. And when I don't remember which particular singer it was, but their home was on the market, everybody was looking at that home because, like, oh my God, everybody wants to see it, right? Everybody wants to see the photos. Everybody wants to see it. So it skewed the amount of looks and the price range, because they're looking at like this $5 million home, but they can only afford a $500,000 home. So it skewed everything. And that's where it's like people, I don't care who you are. It's like a car accident. You can't drive past without looking. So if they're online and something catches their eye, they're like, ooh, look at that. It may have nothing to do with anything. And that's why I don't even put credit into what they're looking at online, because everyone chases the cheapest home on the market because they got to figure it out. And then everyone chases the most expensive home on the market because they just want to know. It's like inquiry minds. So just because they look at something multiple times, it means absolutely nothing. I've had buyers go, oh my God, they had that teddy bear. And this happened to me. They had the same Boyd's bear on the bed that I have. It's a sign I have to have this home, right? People get attracted to one photo and they're like, hey, sister, you gotta look. And then they'll go back on and show mom and dad and show their sister, like, oh my God, look at that bear on the bed. You know, as I said, I never put stock into why people are looking at what, because people have really peculiar habits.
And what do you?
Can I just? I just want to say something to you, Crystal.
Yep.
Because and this is only because of how many years I've been around. I've been through 3 major market crashes in the last 36 years, and it always seems like people that are not involved in the industry try to control our narrative about what's actually happening. And if you're a real estate agent on here, I want to encourage you to ignore, for the most part, in a healthy way, all of the nuances about what's actually happening in the market, because the truth of the matter is people die, people get promoted, people get new jobs, people get transferred. The question is, are you the guy that's there and available to help them get to where they want to be? That's the real problem, not the market conditions or the interest rates. That has nothing to do with it. I'm just throwing that out there because I know it to be true.
Amen, amen, amen. I just sent an email. I don't know if y'all are up on what's happening in the United States right now, but yesterday was a big day for realtors in the United States. $1.86 billion lawsuit with the National Association of Realtors. They're trying to do away with buyer agency, and they're basically blaming the real estate agents for not being able to price their homes properly because they're paying too much in commissions to be able to be within the market to sell their home. So there is going to be a deal, hopefully. And then the second piece was Zillow acquired Follow Up Boss.
Oh, wow.
So that's huge because Zillow is the monster and these companies keep feeding the beast for the almighty dollar. So as I told one of my business partners, I said, this is awesome because this is going to be so tremendously talked about within the real estate community that every woman's going to lose sight of what they're supposed to be doing. And that's just it, Brian. I mean, that is absolutely it. If you take your eye off of the prize, if you watch the news and you get consumed by it, you're just like everybody else. Turn the news off, do your thing, do your job, customer care. You're going to be the one that wins. I never went into the office because I was not a water cooler talker. In 2008, when the market was crashing, I didn't know it. I was like full speed ahead. I knew what my goals were. I knew what I wanted to achieve, and I was out to get it. And I didn't listen to anybody. And they were like, the market sucks. So I'm like, does it? I'm doing pretty darn good.
There's always people that have to move.
Up.
People have to move every single day. And situations and circumstances change every single day.
And those are the people you're looking for in your website. Those are the people you're looking for.
Yeah. And if we just group everyone together as the same category as person, we're missing out a ton of opportunity that's there, because they're not all, sitting on the sidelines and waiting. There's people that are actively pursuing or have to actively pursue.
We got to kiss a lot of frogs. And the thing is, it does take a lot of phone calls and it does take a lot of work. And but what hurts worse, making the phone calls and finding the frog that turns into the prince, or looking at your checking account and believing everybody else about the market?
You made me think of something when you were talking back earlier about customer service, and you made me think about all the times that people served me and I knew they hated their job. How awful that feels. And it made me realize one thing too about real estate, that our attitude when speaking to people really affects them, whether they want to be around us, to work with us. And so I'm saying that because if we're all down in the dumps because of all this news, and we phone somebody, if we're going to project that on them, you're doom and gloom. I don't want to be around you, right?
Yep.
I hope
Well,
that's
and
right.
I always say it's meeting them where they are, right?
Right.
So when you're talking to a prospective new client, it's meeting them where they are. It's not being like overly vivacious and going, that's the best time in the world to buy, because it's really not, right? And if they're like, oh my God, interest rates are ridiculous and prices are ridiculous, and I'm just going to wait, I'm like, you're right. Because if they don't have to sell, why try to solve a problem? But if they're in that situation of, oh shit, you know, my boss decided to move me and I got to sell and it was just poor timing, what do I got to do, and what is my plan B? And that's what we're looking for, are those people that don't have a plan B and they've got to move in a bad situation. You know, and a lot of times, you know, we're in a situation right now, restaurant wise, restaurants, we all know they're not doing well. And my husband's looking at taking out a second mortgage on our condo. Well, 14% interest for a second mortgage, and you're looking at paying off some debts to be able to move forward. And it's like, people have to make really, really big decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know, how long do we plan on keeping the condo? And he's like, probably about 2 years. We have no idea in 2 years what's going to happen to the market. If we take out $70,000 and the market crashes, because they'll loan you up to 20% less than
Mm-hmm.
what the value is today. If that value comes down because it's a condo in a high rise, it's not like it's a house that you can kind of control a little bit more of the equity in there. When you're in a condo association in a high rise, there's a lot more factors that can come into play of lowering your value. So we don't know what's going to happen to the market in 1 to 2 years. So if a realtor would come in and say, yes, take the $70,000 equity, you use the money now, I want someone to be able to talk through with me the pros and the cons, right? Don't tell me what to do or what not to do. Walk through me with the pros and cons of what is in my best scenario, and be able to have those real conversations with sellers, because what we forget, they're in it. And they have a really difficult time because they have an emotional attachment to what they are going through, and they can't see the outer perspective. And what our job is to come in with fresh eyes, the helicopter mom, to be able to see it from this perspective overall and bring up questions and bring up pros and cons that they may not have thought about. And when we start having conversations at that level, it's going to start bringing up things. Well, wow, you know, so when people say the interest rates are too high, I don't have enough money, instead of trying to talk them into being the solution, it's like, well, what would be the plan? Let's just talk about how much of a payment you're comfortable with. If you were to sell your home, how much would you walk away with? How much do we have to work with to put down? Let's put the facts together and get accurate data to be able to make decisions out of intelligence instead of just perspective. And that's what a lot of people, when they're like, the interest rates are high. Well, here's the thing. If they have a shit ton of equity in their home right now today, does the interest rates really matter? If they have a crap load to put down on a new home to change their lifestyle? No. They can refinance if the interest rates come down. And the reality is, everything comes down to the monthly payment. If you can find out what they're comfortable with in a monthly payment, the sales price doesn't matter and the interest rates don't matter. If you can get them that price and they still don't want to move, there's more to it. They really don't want to change their lifestyle. So the more we can get into those questions and find out where their truth really is, that's where the meat is. So that's why I always say, meet them where they are.
That's a good
Agreed.
one. Very good.
This probably isn't the best time because it's that takeaway, right? When you take it away, like, whoa, wait, but maybe I want to move. Don't tell me I can't have something. I want to tell you it's not the time to move. Don't tell me I can't. And it's having those truthful conversations. And when I would walk away from a listing appointment because it wasn't in their best interest to sell their home at that time, people were dumbfounded. And I would get more referrals from the listings I walked away from not taking because they couldn't believe how honest I was. Because at the end of the day, I can put a sign in your yard and put a price on your home that you have to get out of it. But if I'm telling you it's not going to sell based on the buyer's expectations, why are you going to put a number on it, create history, it not sell? And then in a year or 2 years later, when you want to put it back on the market, you got a number out there on the MLS and you've completely lost your negotiation power. So if you really truly want to put your home on the market, I got about 5 agents that are probably that would be in line to put a sign in your yard. But if you truly want that number and you're going to be on the market for 6 months, why don't we just wait 6 months and reevaluate? Because if you're not going to sell, why put it out there? And those are the conversations that we need to be having with these people, because then all of a sudden you become a real person that they trust. And that's why I love the shifting markets, because it really gives you the opportunity to set yourself apart. Because to your point, Brian, there are a lot of agents that are just getting out of Dodge right now because they didn't have enough reserves built up and they can't make it through the shifting market and they have to make a paycheck. So a lot of us really do have a huge advantage. And to your point, how are we going to run with that advantage and stand out? And it's by having those real conversations. And that's why I love calling leads, because you never know where a conversation is going to lead to. But we just have to get comfortable with conversations, and we have to get comfortable being able to get creative, because it is scary. It's there was absolutely a time in my business where I did not believe I was the best agent in my market. I look at everybody else in my market that's been in the market much longer than I was, that knew the community much better than I did. I didn't believe that I was the best agent. But what got me through that was doing my research and my data and knowing my numbers and really targeting on a very small location, because I knew every single home every day that sold. I knew every single day what home came on the market. And I knew my market, I can guarantee you, better than any real estate agent did in my area, because I targeted on such a small area that I was able to know. And I wanted to be in a home on every street in my market. And every listing I took, every property I showed, I would do a Google pinpoint, because that's pretty cool. And when you know your market that well, that's the power that helps you have these really good conversations. And I would sit with, because I'm cheap, I don't like to spend any money, but I would sit with a tablet and I would take my community and I would look at what sold in the last, well, I would go back a year if I didn't have the data, but I would do it every 30 days. What sold, because I wanted to know market share, right? I wanted to know who had market share in my market. So I would take my particular sandbox, is what I would call it. I would go back to what sold. I would write down the listing agent's name and the buyer agent's name. And when it would repeat, I'd put a check mark and just kind of do my 1, 2, 3, 4/5, 1, 2, right? So I wanted to know exactly what agents were doing what in my market. And then you start to see, this one particular agent, those were all estate sales. Oh, they're in with the town attorney. Oh, this one particular agent had all short sales and foreclosures. Well, they're not really that great now that I'm seeing this, right? They're getting fed stuff. They're not having to market because they're getting fed with somebody. But when you know your market that well, man, it can make for some amazing conversations. And then you know market share, you know who your competition is, and study your competition. What are they doing that you could do a little bit better? Is there an in that you could get in? What is selling, and what's happening in your market specifically? What price range is selling the most in your specific market?
You made me have a good
thought.
thought. You made me have a really great thought. Instead of focusing on being the best agent in a community, why don't you focus on doing the best job in your community?
Yes. Because
like
that is being the best agent. When
It
you
is.
know every home. And that's where Gary Keller, when I was in Keller Williams, his line, you pay thousands of dollars to be in the mastermind, right? I walk away with one line. The smaller your focus, the broader your business. That line has never left me with any business I've ever done. The smaller your focus, the broader your business. Because I was able, and when you think about, and the easiest way to even like see what this looks like is a postcard campaign. You can have a market of 10,000 people and send out 10,000 postcards. If you're like, oh shit, that's $10,000. I only got $10,000 to send out 10,000 postcards, and then I'm gonna send them out and then hope somebody calls me. I would rather send out 1,000 postcards to 1,000 people 10 times. And that's what that means by that narrow focus, the broader the business. Because you can pay attention to 1,000 homes. You can't pay attention to 10,000 homes. And you can know those homes really, really well. And you've got to know the market share. Because if you want to try to take over a community in regards to a subdivision, depending on how large a subdivision is, if an agent has more than 30-35% market share in a community, hands off. You ain't gonna tap that in, and it's a waste of resources. Move to a different community. And what I was able to learn in my market, because we were outside of the Washington, D.C., we were the last commutable area that was drivable to D.C. Our agents right in that town did not have market share. We had 46% market share, the local agents. Crazy. Because what happened when people were looking to relocate into DC, what do? They go online and they're looking at homes for sale in Washington, DC, right? They get connected to an agent. And then they realize, shit, I can't afford to live here. Well, now the agent is invested and they're like, well, I'll drive out to Culpeper. I'll drive out an hour and a half. But where the problem was, those agents up in DC, they ain't never heard of well and septic. So they're out in Countryville where there's more cow population than people population. And they were doing horrible piss poor jobs for their buyers. So I knew what my competition was, and I knew what the problem was. And there's certain things that you can't combat, but until you recognize that, you don't know what your competition's doing to be able to be in the running. And that's why it's so exhilarating to sit there and literally go through every home in your market, write down every agent, what the prices are, and then then you're like, I can't wait to tell people. I got so much to say. Because then you have all this knowledge. You're like, I got to tell somebody. And then that's where that creative power comes in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you so much for answering my question. I really appreciate it. Enjoy listening to you and talking and dialoguing. It's really nice. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Wow, we went full circle.
Can I jump off?
Yeah, absolutely. You can jump off.
I just want you guys. No, I just want you to do your thing. I just want to get out of the way. I'm sure other people want to talk.
No worries. No worries.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions? And I can take you out.
Yeah, we got 15 minutes left. Come on.
I think I can move you back to an attendee. There we go. So yeah, does anyone have any additional questions that might pop up that you're encountering right now? Your leads, situations, scenarios, your CRM system, all of the above, all of the above.
All of the above. Don't forget your filters. Those are the best, the best, the best.
Yeah. Kelly is asking, you know, when following up with past clients, what are some tips for asking to get asked for referrals? Like, what do you do personally, Beverly, or have heard other people do to ask for those referrals?
So honestly, I always like to do everything as how do I want to say, like a beta test, or, hey, I'm doing an experiment, or, hey, I'm in a challenge with a coworker, because everyone loves to help. And if you kind of put a spin on it as a game, it makes it a little bit more easy to have the conversation to ask for the referral, because let's face it, it's not comfortable. It's like, hey, you would utilize my services.
Yeah.
So I like to use that whole, hey, I'm having a challenge, or even, hey, I have a goal over the next year that I want to sell so many homes, or I want to help so many buyers buy homes. Do you know anybody? Like, I have a goal of like 25 buyers or whatever. Do you happen to know of anybody that is thinking about buying a home within the next year? And if you don't, that's fine. But hey, if you think of somebody, could you please let them know? Or you can, put on the spin of, hey, me and my coworker, we have this little bet going on that we're going to get X amount of referrals. Do you know of anybody that's going to be buying or selling in the next year? And what that does, don't be upset if they go, no, I have no idea. Just say, you know what? Do you mind if I just follow up in a month and see if that's changed? Because it's just like, pregnancy just came out, right? It's like nobody's pregnant, but then you get pregnant, or you hear somebody being pregnant, and then all of a sudden everybody's pregnant. Or the car, right? It's like, you're like, oh, I'm going to go buy this car that I've never seen. And then you go buy it and everybody has it. You see it everywhere. So it's kind of the same way when you plant that seed for somebody, they're going to be listening, and they're going to have their radars up. So equip them, teach them how to get the referral over to you, equip them. Say, hey, if I give you a couple business cards, or, hey, could you just share my contact information with them? Or could you get me their information? So teach them how you want to receive that referral. Because sometimes people just don't know how to do that, unfortunately. Raving fans are good at it. But sometimes people just don't know how to, hey, I have that friend that,
No,
so
it's very useful. Flip it around a little bit.
Yeah, have fun with it.
Allie is asking, when we call leads within minutes, do we leave a voicemail? Any thoughts on leaving a voicemail versus no voicemail?
I don't leave voicemails. I don't have the time for it. And I don't like saying that, hey, this is Beverly, I'm a real estate agent, because they're going to block your number. Because most people aren't ready to talk when they're online searching. I was just sitting here talking with my mom, and she's not in the industry at all. We have those conversations, Mom, hey, if it's, you ask anybody that's not in the industry. Hey, if your phone rang with a particular number 6-7 times within a couple of weeks, what would you do? And just start asking people what they would do. For the most part, when you see the number over and over and over again, finally, it's like, who is this person called? I just got to know. And then they finally pick up, and that's why the consistency is so vitally important. But if you do leave a voicemail, this is my suggestion. Don't say, you can just maybe leave your name. If you ever had anybody leave you a voicemail and say, hey, this is Beverly, just want to check in, give me a quick call back. And you're like, Beverly, do I know this person? When did I talk to a Beverly? Right? You go through this whole dialogue. I can't remember anything. And I'm like, should I know this person? So just leave it at, hey, this is Beverly. I had some great news for you. Give me a call back. But I have found we get more callbacks when people are curious.
But that could create a curiosity as well, because then now that number and the radar, and that Beverly tried to call me, but I don't know who Beverly is, so I don't really want to call her back because I don't know who she is. But the next time she calls, I'm going to answer because I want to find out who Beverly is.
Yeah, it's just that subliminal way. The very first call, I do let it go to the voicemail because I want to see if there's a name on there and confirm it with the number to see if it's a valid number.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, if it's an automated voicemail, you're not going to know, but if they do have their name on the voicemail, you know, or if it's a different name, it could be a husband's name, a kid's name, you know, whatever, because
Mhm.
people do other people's phone numbers, and then just make a note in your agent locator that, okay, that the lead may be Dina, but it answered as Pete, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a fan of voicemails, but test it. There's no, that's my motto. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. Just do it anyway.
No.
And just test it.
Sometimes it's completely dependent on your market, right? Sometimes if you're in a small condensed market where people are just a little bit more friendly, they're not in like busy city life, and it's, some people are more willing to have the courtesy to call you back, right? It really, really depends on.
Well, or an elderly community as well.
Mm-hmm,
If
mm-hmm.
you've recognized it as a landline and it's not a cell phone, and you can usually tell by the voicemail, hey, you've reached the da-da-da family, that's a landline, leave a voicemail, just play with it. But I wouldn't be specific, and don't. So I did a test one time asking people, do you listen to your voicemails? If you do listen to your voicemails, do you listen to them the whole way to the end? And there ain't one person that listens to them the whole way to the end whenever they're long-winded. So don't leave a whole dialogue.
I usually get mine like once every 2 weeks. So they're like, oh, probably listen to the voicemails. It's on my phone, because I'm one of the people that if it's important, they'll call back. That's just my mentality. It doesn't matter. My mom leaves me a voice. I don't even listen to it. I just call her back. I'm like, I didn't listen to the voicemail. I just saw that you called.
Yeah. Well, and most voice, well, I can't say most business voicemails get interpreted into text, right? And it emails you. Now I don't know about the average person.
Yeah, that's I think you pay for that service. So some people pay for it because they want to see the text, because they can't always get to that voicemail. And some don't pay for it.
Yeah. But yeah, if you can identify as a landline, it's probably more of an elderly person, because those are the only people that have landlines anymore, right, Mom?
Yeah. Well, my mom has. She's not elderly.
She's snarking at me. She's like, oh.
She has.
She's just snarking the elderly part.
Yeah. She just has that, because I think it's a preference, right? My stepdad doesn't use his cell phone other than for work, really, or if he leaves the house, and really it's to call my mom, like if he's left the house. So there's no reason for him to get rid of the landline, because that's what he personally relies on, is the landline.
Yep. Well, it's what they're used to. That's what my grandma's 95 years old, and she's moved into a home, and they're like, we gotta get rid of the number. And it's kind of weird, right? She's had that number. I'm 53 years old. That's the only number I've ever known. And I'm like, oh, but it's how much a month? $58 a month to keep a stupid number? For what? Yeah. There ain't nobody there answering it. But we can't get the number. Yeah.
Ali is saying they're testing out voice notes, so on SNS and WhatsApp. Do you have any thoughts on that? So instead of leaving a voice message or just shooting a text message, is like literally leaving a voice note, so they actually listen back to the message through, that's essentially a text message.
Yeah, as long as it's short and sweet. You know, I like quick videos better than a voice note, because then it's actually putting a face to who you are. But that's why I said just test it and see what kind of results you get from it. I hate when my daughter sends me the voice notes, because I'm always in a place where I'm turning the volume down, and then I'm like clicking on it, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm not a fan of the voice notes. But some people, I mean, they're easy for the person leaving it.
Yeah.
But for the person that is, I'm like, I can listen to it. Yeah.
Back when you're in a situation that you can.
I can read anywhere.
Yeah.
Like I could read, like if it came across right now, I could look down and read it real quick, and I would have an idea of what I'm up against. But if it's a voice text, I'm like, oh, I gotta wait until I'm, able to actually listen.
Yeah. And then they're just asking as well, if you are sending videos, are you sending that through text message? Are you sending that through WhatsApp? Like, how would you send the video messages?
Well, you can't do a video text message through AgentLocator. You'd have to do it from your personal.
Yeah, the only way you could do that is through creating a link to the video, and so it'd be quite a hop and a jump.
Yeah,
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is this from Second? Biggest struggle I face these days is drip campaign responses. Some leads immediately unsubscribe from SMS or emails even before you're able to reach out. Others do. In a while, you have spoken to them. Any suggestions on what drip campaigns or triggers to use? Everyone knows that I'm not the biggest fan of drip campaigns because of that reason. I like my drip campaigns to be short and sweet, and I like to be able to have the control of the messaging that I'm sending out. I think absolutely bad phone numbers are necessary, and new lead campaigns are absolutely necessary. Everything else, I like to kind of handle whenever I know I can be responsive because of that reason. But your new lead campaigns, they shouldn't be opting out. If they're opting out, see you later. Okay, fine. You weren't going to convert them anyway.
Yeah. And it's listings, right? So a lot of people, they just wanted to look at the one listing. They opt out. They don't want to receive regular.
I still keep them on my call list. I don't eliminate them.
No.
Because they may just unsubscribe. I mean, who knows why? We don't know why. And I don't even say anything. They're like, why do you unsubscribe? I don't even say anything to them.
Mm-hmm.
I just, again, the name of the game is find out where they are in the process and go from there. And don't bring it up that they've unsubscribed, or just keep calling.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Of course. And truly, it's funny. So let me, I'm just going to reread your, okay. Some leads immediately unsubscribe. Okay. I appreciate that you said some, because whenever a lot of people bring up those little objections, they're like, all of my leads unsubscribe. All of my leads are bad phone numbers. So I appreciate that you said some.
Yeah. And the text messages as well. So you gotta, in hindsight, there's two, like there's various, possibilities with that. One is it's a good functioning phone number, but it doesn't belong to that lead. So the person that got this text message is like, what the heck is this? Stop. Right. Yes. So that's one scenario. So you could always mark their number as invalid to see if it prompts the person, if they're going to go look at listings, they're going to have to put their phone number in again. Right. So that's one way that you can do that. Another is, in some cases, people might think that it's all just, there's no human involved, right? They're just those text pushes that they're going to continuously get. And it's kind of like, for some, it's like spam, right? I get all the ones on my phone, like this sale is happening today. This sale is happening today. Opt out every message, right? And so some individuals may think that that's what it is. They signed up and now they're going to get these constant text messages with respect to listings, this and that, what, and so they just opt out. They don't realize that there's actually a person that's involved in that. Well,
it's fact.
Perfect. Awesome.
I think we covered everything.
I think we did. It was a good session, even though we had a temporary panelist.
Yes.
He was on. Stuff. It was good. It was good in that sense of things. But in the agent locator, and actually I'll post it in here as well, Beverly does this twice a month, the first and the third Wednesday of every month. So there is a link that if any of you are, now that if you're new, you kind of know what Beverly does. In other scenarios, she will kind of focus on, what you were specifically struggling with, whether it's, managing your database or just the approach to your leads, and really speak to, what it is that you specifically are encountering, so she can help guide you or provide some additional insight on that. So if any of you want to be a future guest on the live dials, I put the link in, not the chat for everyone. So let me do that again. I've put the link in here. Again, there's only twice per month. So we would be looking for the third week of November right now. And then of course into December, and then the new year after that. So we're always looking.
Gosh, the year. Whew.
I know, right?
I had to write 2024 for the first time the other day, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was like sitting like a future appointment. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh,
That just
yeah.
feels so weird.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right. Too. No. Well, hopefully we get
You
into
guys are so welcome.
2024 and back into spring and summer again.
I know,
Skip
right?
the whole winter. Think of it that way. Awesome. Well, thank you, Beverly. Always
Well,
a pleasure.
thank you all for
Thank you.
spending your time with us. It was wonderful as always. And yes, I want to see some of you. I want to see some of your databases. So
Yeah.
click that link, sign up.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.